Hey YouTube, we are in La Jolla, California. We're here for just a few days vacation, a quick time out, spending it with family, and we'll spend 2 more days in another city, and our last day in Palm Springs, just my wife and I, for a quick break before we get back to work. It's been an interesting year, 2020. What I want to talk about is, while I served in the Air Force in many different capacities, for 21 and a half years, the best compliment, the most satisfaction that I got, and I got a lot of satisfaction, different examples, was when people would find out that I was prior enlisted, because I commissioned eventually, but I came into the Air Force enlisted as an airman. I was a 1-striper, 2-striper, 3-striper, E4, and then I made staff sergeant, which is E5. Very proud of that. I was prepared to stay on the enlisted side just in case I didn't commission. It was a good life, very good life. And the good news was that I was able to commission, and that was a goal that I had, and I'm very happy to have that opportunity as well. It wasn't easy, but I made it. Now, the compliment was when people would find out that I was prior enlisted. That meant a lot to the people that shared that with me, but at the same time that meant a lot to me. And sometimes they would find out through conversation, very few people. Sometimes it was through reading my biography, my military biography. Sometimes they had their own ways of finding out about myself. Either way, regardless of how they found out, it was a compliment that they would share with me. And I think the reason they did appreciate that, it was because a few reasons. One is they knew I had walked in their shoes, that I was there as well. I went through basic training. I was that technician at the lower enlisted pay grades, meaning you're that functional expert because you're the one that's doing the job. And I did that, and I was the functional expert. Whether I was a firefighter or personnel, I was the one that knew how to do the job in and out, because that was my job. My job was to get it done. And they had a sense of appreciation for that, because they knew that I had been in their shoes. And that was true. I was that functional expert, and it's something that I will always hold near and dear to my heart, being that airman. I did make it to the pay grade of Staff Sergeant E5, and that was a different level already. That's where you start to become at least E4 through maybe E6 on average, is where you start to leave a little bit of that technical expert or functional expert, and you start to become a leader by supervising people, by mentoring the younger airmen, and have that responsibility as well. So what caught me off guard several times was when people, not knowing that they were going to say this, is, you know what, Hugo or LT or Captain or whatever, once I found out that you were prior enlisted, that made a lot of sense. And I said, really, what made a lot of sense? And they would say often, the way you carry yourself, you're approachable. We knew that we could come to you and say, sir, this is going well. Sir, this is a challenge. We need to discuss this. What can we do to improve it? And that I was going to listen to them and guide them. And at the same time, I knew that I depended on the enlisted force, airmen and NCOs and senior NCOs, to help me as well, especially when I was changing jobs and I wasn't the expert. And sometimes I would struggle with that. I would think, you know what, I'm struggling with this job. Then I had to realize that my role was not to be that functional expert, but to use the team that I worked with and learn from them and guide them and lead them. So while my Air Force career was extremely satisfying for 21 and a half years, the best compliment, or maybe the most satisfying part that I had, was when people showed in conversation with me that they appreciated what I did for them and how I led the team. It was probably at the top of my career. having those conversations, those candid conversations with several people throughout the years, and it meant a lot to me. Take care.